Hey guys, the day I'm recording this audio is August 18th, 2 days after the US is officially withdrawn from Afghanistan. With this video, I want to address what's happening in the Middle East and give my thoughts about what exactly went wrong in Afghanistan. What I'm seeing from the small amount of footage that makes it to my phone is honestly shocking and appalling. There is video of people trying to escape from Afghanistan by hanging onto the landing gear of airplanes, videos of people falling to their death, and videos of people getting ran over by airplanes while trying to stop them from taking off. People that helped the US military for more than 15 years are being abandoned or they end up being killed by the Taliban. Surely there is a better system for withdrawing and protecting those that helped us. We owe at least that to them. I want to start off by saying a couple facts. Of people interviewed by journalists, it has become apparent that less than 90% of Afghani citizens knew about what happened on 9/11. And of the 10% that did know, the majority of them believe that 9/11 did not happen the way it did. The sudden presence of American soldiers was a complete shock to the population of Iran, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Nobody understands what's happening over there due to the military and government not being transparent enough with the US citizens. This has been a recurring theme for all of the combative engagements the US has made since Vietnam. Almost nobody in America has a complete and comprehensive idea of what's really going on. More than 50% of the population of the world are suffering under authoritarian regimes. The question is what you should do about it. One modern way people are trying to battle other governments is through the use of cryptocurrency, whereby giving the people a mode of currency, they can be combative with the government's own currency. The idea is to give people power through the money. I don't have the wherewithal to understand the process of doing this, so I'll link some papers I read in the description. The other way is obviously through the military, which is a project that takes often 10 to 20 years and then ultimately is not successful. The Afghanistan situation is quite interesting to me because according to President Biden, there are 300,000 armed soldiers that were trained by the US in the Middle East, while there are only 75,000 Taliban soldiers. However, they never fought. They gave up instantly. Imagine fighting in Afghanistan, watching your friends die, spilling blood over the course of 20 years just for it all to go to waste because the American government, or the Afghani government the US set up, failed to prepare an adequate plan for how to withdraw from this war. This is a war we got into under false pretenses, stayed with almost no transparency from the government or the military for almost 20 years, to the dismay of the American people, and then left without a proper and transparent plan on how to transfer the power to the Afghani government. Now, we are back to the terrorist groups that controlled the Middle East before, that were initially heavily funded by the US to help take down bin Laden. We are back to them removing women from jobs, enforcing often polyamorous relationships for every individual woman and child between the ages of 15 and 45. And the citizens that originally allied with the US military are being rounded up and killed. This is all around the worst outcome imaginable from the withdrawal of the US forces. I don't know what lesson to draw from this except we should have never gone there in the first place. Why Afghanistan? Why not the many abusive tribes in Africa? Or the literal concentration camps in North Korea where grandchildren are literal slaves inside of prison camps being punished for almost minuscule things their grandparents did 50 years ago? Why doesn't the government call out China for the small proportion of its crimes that the Chinese government doesn't have the opportunity to cover up? Why have we acted in the Middle East and not the Central American countries right next to us that have some of the most corrupt governments imaginable? Why not Brazil, which to this day has communities with thousands of Nazi sympathizers? Even Russia is a dictatorship where anybody with an opposing voice is silenced by the elite. My point is, fighting in the Middle East compared to fighting in places where almost equal atrocities are happening seems incredibly arbitrary to the deformed citizen. People argue that the reason we went into war with these nations of the Middle East is for oil and lithium deposits, as well as the other natural resources that would make a war like this more economically viable. And based on the circumstances of this war, I am inclined to believe them. In general, I agree with the libertarian ideal that we should stay out of wars until we have a good reason to commit our vast resources and economic and military power to a war such as World War II. The interesting argument that I'm having about this in my head is, I'm not entirely positive about whether the atrocities that were happening in the Middle East and the terrorist attacks in America were a good enough reason to commit to this war. In conclusion, I would like to say this. Going to war in the Middle East, although maybe for deceitful purposes, was at least in part an honorable cause. I understand that it didn't work out and that the American government should definitely be embarrassed for how it was ended. In my opinion, It is truly honorable to be killed in action while trying to improve the welfare of the abused and neglected people of these corrupt governments. Bye, everybody.
Somewhere between 700 billion and $1.3 trillion.